In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network. A network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators. We are innovators. We are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, from the northeast quadrant of the United States, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Saturday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the Trim Radio Network. You can join the conversation in any of our chat rooms. And now, without further ado, your host, Riscalla.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Wait for that thing to shut off. Oh, boy. Got a lot I want to share with you guys tonight. And it's becoming more and more difficult for me to do this because you have to immerse yourself. Let me back up a minute. If you want to get to the truth, you need to be able to have the ability to immerse yourself in things that are not pleasant, things that nightmares are made out of. I had to stop reading the files. I couldn't take it anymore. The horrific things that are in those files. I don't know what's worse. Honestly, I don't know what's worse. The horrific things that are in the file, the people not being investigated or arrested, or the people like you and me that are not standing up literally by the millions and going, this is not acceptable. And we want something done about it. And what we want exactly done is that you will release the files, victims' names only redacted, and everything else will be transparent. Now, I guarantee you, if we could show up by the millions, they wouldn't have much choice. Instead, we have now a war. I have a couple of friends of mine who are very upset with me because I said some negative things about this war. It's not like we haven't been lied to before about war, right? Right? On September the 11th, 2001, as our government claims, aircraft ran into some buildings and knocked the buildings down, which is a crock, but we'll just go with that for now. Immediately thereafter, we attacked Afghanistan. Why did we attack Afghanistan? Oh, Riscalla. Afghanistan is where the mastermind for this whole thing lives. Really. One man living in a cave, from what I understand, on a satellite phone, this is what the report is, was able to overcome the most technologically advanced defense system on the face of the planet. So we're going to make the whole country suffer for one man. Oh, but wait, it gets better. The Taliban said, we'll go get this guy. All you got to do is just give us some evidence. We'll go get him for you. The response was, no, we're going to get him ourselves. Yeah, to the tune of 3 different times he was cornered. To the tune of 3 different times, the troops were told to stand down. So why did we go to Afghanistan? We didn't want him. We just needed a war. And then we jumped to Iraq. We were told Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. But they had weapons of mass destruction. So we attacked Iraq, had their dictator murdered, and we're still there to this day. Let me go back a little bit further. During my tenure in the armed services, the Vietnam War was happening. And we were told that the Vietnam War, the reason for the Vietnam War, was that some North Vietnamese, I forget what they called them, gunboats, I think was the term that they used, attacked one of our ships. Act of war. Here we go. We lost almost 60,000 Americans. I lost some friends. Found out later it was a lie. The whole thing's a lie. We killed people for a lie. Yeah. It's all documented. I don't ask anyone to believe me. Please go look it up. It's a lie. Why am I bringing all this up? We've been told that Iran is the terror state of the region. Iran is nothing but trouble. Iran has caused this. Iran has caused that. Iran is responsible for this. Iran finances all these terrorists. I have to take it with a grain of salt. You've lied to me repeatedly, over and over and over, particularly when you want a war. Particularly. So now I'm supposed to believe everything that you're telling me? Who's to say that this is not Venezuela, you guys? They're not able to pull a fast one on Iran like they were with Venezuela. And so we're told that, well, this is to protect us. We're protecting the United States. By attacking another country? Well, they say death to America, death to the serpent, death to, they have another name for Israel as well. I'm not sticking up for Iran, you guys. Please. I don't think that they're an innocent sheep in this by any stretch of the imagination. I'm trying to find out, why do they feel the way that they feel about us? What happened? Because there was a time in Iran when Iranians and Iranians looked up to America. Iranians wanted to be like America. The Iranian women were wearing bikinis, you guys. Don't believe me? Go look it up. Their whole society was becoming like somewhat like an American society, a democratic society. And now what we have during that time that all of that was going on, the Shah of Iran, I guess he just made somebody mad over here because they ended up removing him. Well, when they removed him, it left a vacuum. And then came in Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, instead of nipping it in the bud right there, because everything was already a turmoil at that point, now we're going to let it fester for 40 some odd frickin' years? I don't know. How many people have died because of this? So since the time, I don't remember it was in the 70s, I think, when they removed, 74 maybe, when they removed the Shah, it was later than that. Anyway, from the time that they removed the Shah, they've continued to meddle in politics. I say they, CIA, primarily CIA, continue to meddle in their business over there. Continue to try to have that regime overthrown over and over. Paying, just like we have here, you guys. We have people who are paid to protest. Okay, well, they were buying protesters. Sadly for them, the protesters, majority, a lot of them, didn't get to see the next day. We don't treat them like that over here. We just put them in jail and then let them out a couple of hours later to go do it again. So they're a little more strict over there about who's going to protest about what. What business is... why do they hate Israel so much? Because they have watched Israel literally devastate the Palestinians. They have watched Israel cry, "We are the victim. We are defending ourselves," and committing genocide in the face of the world. They have seen the hypocrisy. Israel is like a proverbial thorn in the side. Now, don't misunderstand me, because I get people, oh, he's an anti-Semite. Kick cans, pal. It's not about Semitism. If I tell you that I don't like our government, I don't like our administration, does that mean I'm anti-American? I'm anti the administration that's causing us issues that promised we wouldn't be seeing these issues. I'm coming up with more and more, literally, evidence. And we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. That Iran was not a military threat to us. My concern with Iran is I'm sure they have sleeper cells here. I have no doubt they have sleeper cells here. And our government knows they have sleeper cells here. So why aren't we investing the money, and however many billion dollars we've spent so far, and I think it's up to 6 lives now. 1 is too many. We're up to 6, who knows? Who knows? I'm seeing reports that it's not going as expected. Bases have been destroyed to the tune of possibly trillions of dollars. Who's going to pay for that? How is that protecting us? How is that making America great again? Are we going to be great at war again? Is that what it is? Because in my mind and my limited knowledge that I have, when you are saying make America great again, I'm thinking about bringing up the quality of life for all Americans, every one of us. Because it's every one of us who pays the freaking taxes that you people are so irresponsible with. I thought we were going to have a new sheriff in town who was going to hold people responsible. You guys, it brings tears to my eyes. I voted for this man 3 times. I supported him wholeheartedly. And it's not like I don't support him. Oh, let me ask you, because people have asked me, do you still support Trump? Who are you going to support, you twit? Are you going to, oh, I can't support Trump. Let me go support Kamala and her gang. This is disgusting. We're Americans. We deserve much better than what we're getting. Much better. I thought the bar for the president of the United States had freaking dropped to down below whale poop, right? When the O Vomit man was in. And then we kind of raised it to a level where I was almost proud the first time around for Trump. He wasn't taking any crap from anybody. He made all the right people mad. He made all the people that I knew were scumbags mad. So he had to be a good guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, because I don't know. I'm saying his name's in those files. 3,900 times his name's in those files. And I've read several. I think I read one on the air last week or the week before, where it literally lists him as doing some pretty vulgar things to young girls, 12, 13-year-olds. If it's true, I don't care who you are. I don't care. I'm not going to apologize. I don't give a damn who you are. You're the freaking Pope. If it's true, be happy that I'm not in charge. Be happy that I don't have any authority. Because if I did, we would do things kind of like in the old days, in the Western days. Yeah. A little couple of nails, a little rope, out in public. Now, mind you, all of the nasty things that were going on in those files, all of those nasty things, they're still happening. It's still going on. And people are just, oh, well, we got the war, Riscalla. We have to worry about the war. I can't help but wonder why they chose now. It was during a Hebrew holiday, from what I understand, a high day, celebration of the massacre of Phoenicians or something. I don't recall, but not a good holiday. Not a holiday in the sense like a Christmas holiday. No, it's a holiday celebrating the mass genocide of, I think it was Phoenicians, but I don't recall. The more I look, the more I find, and now it's pretty much in the open, people. You know, I've said many times, and please, I am so grateful that you're willing to join me on a Saturday night. I know a lot of people have a lot of better things to do than sit down and watch an old fart on the boob tube, if you will, and tell him about stuff that's going on that he sees from his eyes. So I'm grateful for that. My prayer is that you'd hear what I have to say and go check it out yourself. It makes a big difference. Oh yeah, Riscalla said this. And you go look at it and you go see it for yourself. It has a higher impact. I'm devastated that people are standing up for all these innocent people. These are thousands of people, thousands, children, some of them infants, purposely born for no other reason than to be murdered. Oh, they're not human, you guys. They can't be human. They can't be human. Humans don't do that. Back to Iran. I've played this many times. I got in trouble. Facebook is now warning me not to play this anymore. I'm not on Facebook tonight, so go kick cans. This is the truth.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Finishing off with Iran. Every one of those countries did not have a central bank. They didn't have a Federal Reserve. One of the main reasons for going after them. We're going to spread our democracy. We're going to spread capitalism. People, it's time to get real. Because what's coming, if we don't put a stop to this, it is your worst nightmare, and none of us will be safe. None of us. Well, maybe the parasites who have built themselves cities below the ground, maybe they'll be safe. The rest of us will burn. Because there are people on this planet who are willing to literally burn the house down before they're willing to give the house up. I'm not kidding. And this is well known. And the only way around that is when the people of this world, who outnumber them by millions, decide to get their act together and say, no more. We're not doing this anymore. And you're not going to do what you're doing anymore. And some of them who are guilty of these unspeakable crimes need to go meet the Lord. Yeah. There's no bond. There's no appeal. If there's hard evidence that you did what you did, what those files said, say goodbye. I tell you, it's hard for me. I have children. I have grandchildren. I think, my God, it could have been any one of them. So you heard it from General Wesley Clark. 7 countries, 5 years. That was the plan. Finishing off with who? Right where we're at today. Here I thought, Trump, I really believed this. I'm not believing it much anymore. I really believe that Trump was the disruptor. Not the Messiah, not the Savior, the disruptor. There's a big difference there. You have a system that is well known to be corrupt. You have an individual who apparently, at least seemingly at the surface, had the power to disrupt that system. Maybe not break it down completely, but bring it to a point where it is fractured. And at that point, during its weakness, be able to renew the system, reconstruct the system into the way that it was supposed to be. But what I'm seeing happen before my eyes, that's not going on. What I'm watching is almost a replay of other wars that we got into. The CIA really should be called a marketing agency because that's what they're really good at. They're good at marketing. They will get the American people so riled up and so devoted and so full of reasons why to do something. Do you remember? Let me back up a minute. How many of you And I keep forgetting how many years have passed. How many of you remember 9/11? How many of you remember 9/12? 9/10, it was, yeah, okay, we're Americans, no big deal. Yeah. 9/11, oh my God, they did what? 9/12, we're going to go kick ass. Remember that. So they got the people all riled up. And at that point, when they needed a war, it wasn't no big deal. Hey, they're already riled up. We already want somebody to kick somebody's butt for what happened. And we were told that, hey, these guys over here, those guys over there. And we ended up going to Afghanistan. We ended up going to Iraq. We ended up going to Libya. We ended up sticking our nose in Yemen. We ended up bombing in Somalia. Folks, is this what you want? Is this what you want? We're already forced against my will. I won't speak for you. I'll speak for me. Already forced to pay taxes. It's a form of thievery. Now, I wouldn't mind paying taxes if they were used properly and went towards a worthy cause. No problem. I'd do it. But when we pay taxes at the rate of, you think about this for a minute, we're paying taxes at the rate of around 50 to 70%, depending upon how much money we make and how many items we buy. There's gasoline tax, there's sale tax, there's death tax, there's this tax. I'm surprised they don't tax us every time we go to the bathroom. We are overtaxed, we are underrepresented, and they want more. There's no reason why people in our government, not a single reason, why they should earn, twice the average of what the average American makes? That they should have better benefits? You're supposed to be in service, you twit. You're not royalty. You're supposed to be a public servant. But because we have remained silent, because the system keeps us busy trying to earn a living, because of all of the distractions that they constantly pour down our throats, they're able to get away with this stuff. People who get into politics or in politics for just a couple of years, all of a sudden they're multimillionaires. Multimillionaires. AOC, I think the last time I looked, was somewhere around $30 million. This is a person who was a freaking barmaid. We need to put a stop to this insanity. It's only going to get worse. So the last call, General Wesley Clark, the last call was Iran. That's where we're at. We're in Iran. So this wasn't something that Trump just recently decided on. This was something that was decided on back in 2000, and I think it was 2002 by the time he asked him the second time. It was maybe the end of 2001. So this has been known for a long time. When they make their plans aren't for 6 months or 8 months. Their plans are for years. Years. That's why they're able to get away with this stuff. I've expressed to people just how much these people have ripped us off. I say these people, whoever's in charge of the financial standings of our money, they have stolen from you and me. And the way that they've done that is by continuously printing more money with nothing to back it up. There was a time in this country, if you had a paper dollar, you could take that paper dollar and you could go to the bank and request the bank pay you a silver dollar. That silver dollar was 90% 999 silver. The value of the melted amount of that silver dollar today is somewhere around 30 to 40 bucks, just to take it and melt it down. So if you were making 30 to 40 times whatever you're making now, imagine what kind of life you'd have. That's how they've stolen money from us. They've stolen so many things, our rights. I can't believe how quickly people are so fast to give up their privacy. There was a time that privacy was the number one issue when you were online. Oh, they'll tell you that now, but that's a bunch of baloney. Because when you go to look at something, even if you just want to browse in some of these websites, what do they want? They want your email. Some of them want your phone number. Some of them want your email, phone number, and your address. Why? None of your freaking business. If I want to look at your product, I want to look at your product. I just leave them. I refuse. It's none of their business who I am looking at their products. If I'm interested in buying, then you can find out who I am. Even that is beyond what we used to do. There was a time when you could buy something, nobody wanted to know your name. Now they want to know everything. When was the last kid you had? How many times have you been married? It wouldn't surprise me. So back to the Iran. I said a couple of shows back, or maybe last show, I'm not sure. Israel has an unhealthy effect upon our country. And I caught some grief. Some people sent me a couple of emails saying I'm anti-Semite, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's the usual thing. If you say something that might sound like you're conservative, oh, you're a racist. That's one of their favorites, you know. You're a racist. Ugh. So if you say something that sounds like you're not agreeing with Israel, you're an anti-Semite. I want you to watch this. Think carefully with what you're about. This is only a minute and 30 seconds. But in this minute and 30 seconds, this is one of our representatives. Think about this now.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
what
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who claims,
know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
this is
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
How you very clearly, this is a representative of ours who I like how because there's so much going through my head right now. I like how he says, well, you believe that they were going to murder Donald Trump. He's like, out of nowhere this comes out, right? They weren't talking about Donald Trump. They were talking about him and his knowledge of a country that he wants to help invade. And Trump got thrown in there right away. Well, Donald Trump, I guess a deflection. The bottom line is he really doesn't know a whole lot about what we're doing with regard to the country itself. I'm sure he knows all kinds of stuff about the war. That's a senator, you guys. I got more. Let me do this one. This is another short, just a short videos. These are short videos. But to me, they send a message. And the message is Israel has an unhealthy effect upon our country.
Appears that the Iranians struck a building, and that building contained Israeli officers who were carrying out a conference about this war. The location of that building had been selected by the Israelis in the morning, meaning that by striking this building and killing the people inside, Iran not only proved that they had the capability to penetrate Israeli air defense at any time. This building was selected because it was supposed to be ringed by sufficient air defense systems. But Iran also showed that they have the ability to collect intelligence information, highly accurate intelligence information about the most sensitive topics in Israel, and respond in a timely fashion, killing the Israelis involved. This, more than anything, scares the Israelis because they now know they are all literally dead men walking.
A little bit of their own medicine, I guess. I'm looking for one. One that leaves no question. Leaves no question. Where did I put that? Here we go. This is, I believe this is the right one. This is coming from a soldier, boots on the ground soldier.
So who is giving the orders for all the GHF operations?
I was told very explicitly, directly to my face, that our client is the IDF.
Your client is the IDF.
Our client is the IDF. And this came out in a discussion once where I was in the control room. I was on control room duty that day. We had shifted responsibilities on a rotational base. So I was in there that day with the radio observing site number 2 distribution. A Palestinian man had picked up some children to let them step on his shoulders to get onto a berm because they were being crushed in the crowd. Site 2 is very small, smallest of all 4 sites. And these children are being crushed, and picked them up there and put them up on the berm. And the Israeli Defense Forces liaison officer in the main control center with us comes up to the screen that I'm watching and he says, "Tell your men to get them down." I was like, "We got this under control." I was like, "I know they know what they're doing. No, they're children. Let's calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Get them down now, or I will." Well, there's no IDF on the site, so I didn't take it much more than just being, bombastic and like, okay, like, hey, we got this. He leaves and goes to his desk in the operations center, and he gets on the radio and he speaks something on the radio. It was in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. One of the contractors that was there was American that did speak Hebrew, and he notifies me. He said, "Hey, he just told the snipers at the IDF position, because the site number 2 is co-located with an Israeli base."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "He just told the snipers to take these kids out." I was like, "On the radio?" He's like, "Yeah." This lieutenant colonel then comes back up and he says, "Get them down." And I look at him and I say, "Did you just call on the radio and tell your men to shoot them?" He said, "I'm going to take care of this if you don't." I said, "You are not going to shoot. You are not going to shoot children. You're also not going to shoot because if your men miss, you're going to hit others. You're not going to shoot." Thank God we didn't come to the conclusion of figuring out whether he would or not, because the children jumped down and ran off of the site. They didn't want to be there. They were unarmed. They didn't have shoes. One wasn't even wearing a shirt. They were starving. The chief operations officer for Safe Reach Solutions, our higher headquarters, so to speak, in the contract, beckoned me outside with him, and he looked at me in the face and he said, "Never say no to the client." And I asked him, I was like, "I didn't know the client was in there. Who's here? Did Johnny Moore come to visit?"
Right.
And he said, "No, the IDF." I was like, "The IDF are our client?" He said, "Yes, we work for them."
That's coming from boots on the ground. And how many representatives do we have that are dual citizens? I looked up the requirements of an Israeli citizen. I don't know how, I haven't looked up how many we have dual citizenship that are in our government that are dual citizenship, Israeli dual citizenship. I don't know how many. But I do know that it said one of the requirements was that you take an oath of loyalty, 100% loyalty to Israel if you are to be an Israeli citizen. So my question is, how can you be part of our government if you're not 100% American citizen, because you're serving two masters, and the Bible says you can't do that. It's just not going to work. I agree. So I want to see legislation where we don't, if you're a dual citizen, God bless you, be a dual citizen. You just can't serve in the government. You can't be in a position that might be able to put our kids into I can't think of the right word, a situation that endangers their lives. No, especially when it's your kids don't ever go. So I showed you General Wesley Clark finishing it off with who? Iran. This is it. I really think this is it. In the meantime, like I showed you here, this was boots on the ground being told that the IDF is in charge. I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, how many people remember when Trump was running, some of the things that he said? Well, I remember, because I saved some of them.
War hawks, they want to draft your kids to die in wars, and they will never fight themselves. You know, we'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars that never end. These endless wars that we've been in, I've gotten us out of so many. We don't want to get into wars. We're tired of fighting. I'm the only president in the last 84 years that didn't start a war. Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. We will have prosperity and peace. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Remember, I'm the president of peace. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. He's going to start a war. I said, no, no, no. My rhetoric is going to keep us out of wars. And that's what happened. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
You remember that? Am I picking on him? Is it unfair for me to hold him responsible for the things that he said? One of my friends said, well, you just don't understand, Riscalla. When he said all that, things were different. What was different? What was so different? We weren't being attacked by Iran then. Iran was still saying death to America then. What changed? What happened? Oh, well, they found out that they were going to try to murder Trump. Good luck. Where did that intel come from? Is that the same intel, the same 50 that signed off that the laptop from hell was fake? Folks, they're lying to us right, left, and center. You can't tell what the truth is anymore. Riscalla, we know that Iran is a terrorist state. There's no doubt about it. It's documented. Who's doing the documenting? I'm not sticking up for them. But if you want to get to the truth of something, you have to have an open mind and be willing to accept that something you believe in is not true. We're being set up. All right, I got another one. Here. This goes back to 2018, I think it is.
And it's the same people in charge. And if we want to learn something, if the audience wants to learn something, then let's look at Oded Yanan's strategy for Israel in the 1980s. There is this psychopathic plan for Israel to expand. And back in the 1980s, Saddam Hussein was identified as target number one, while, by the way, he was our asset fighting the Iranians, which Brother Muhammad knows very well, because Saddam Hussein was used to kill effectively 1 million Iranians, which included teenage boys who were sent off to the front, who came voluntarily to the front to defend Iran very honorably, the only war that Iran has been involved in for several centuries. Ultimately, this plan of expanding Israel, the Greater Israel Project, involved not just the taking out of Saddam Hussein or any other strong Arab leadership in the region, but also to effectively balkanize the entire region. And what we see right now in Syria, Libya, and the entire region is that plan, Oded Yanan's strategy for Israel in the 1980s. And this chaos that we see is not an accident. And if people really want to learn something here, they need to understand that none of this is an accident. Actually, what's happened in Iraq is exactly what was intended. Not only to take out Saddam Hussein, but to break up Iraq, which we see 3 different segments. We see the same thing happening in Syria right now. So if people really want to have an understanding, they need to know that those that are in power, which are all basically puppets in government, who are underneath the bankers who always want war, who finance generally all sides of war, they have a major incentive to keep going with war. And now you know very well, sitting there in Russia, that we're trying to pick a fight with Russia.
We're supporting Ukraine, knowing that Ukraine is one of the most, if not the most, corrupt government in the region. Before I left Florida, I had read an article. I don't remember who the article was from, but one of the reporters there in Florida, Zelensky, had purchased his parents a multi-million-dollar mansion there in Florida somewhere. Where'd you get that money? So we continue to give these people money. This is. I don't. Maybe people don't want what I want. Here's what I was expecting. When Trump came into office, the first thing I was expecting is that we lock up that border. Bingo. Thank you. The next thing I was expecting is these criminals, the hardened criminals, I want them gone first. Get them out of here. We don't need them. Get them out. Well, he pretty much started working on that. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. And from there on, it seems like, no, I give them a little bit to make them happy, and they should be happy. Don't question what I'm doing. You can't question what I'm doing. What I was expecting, the border, I really was expecting our economy to have a noticeable difference. I put a post up, bought some chicken feed back in December, I think it was. Bought the same exact chicken feed from the same exact place. It came out to be 21.2% more. Did you get a raise in your paycheck? But people in the administration are doing their best to convince me that the economy is roaring. The economy is doing well, Riscalla. The price of gas just went up. They're going to blame that on the war, but there's already gas reserves in place. There's already gas in the tanks at the gas stations, and they raised the price. It's freaking greed. And we're the ones who get squeezed for it. Sometimes knowing is just hurts. I see Peter's in the house. I'm going to bring Peter on. Peter.
Hello, Riscalla. How are you?
You feeling any better?
The headache's clearing up a little bit. I figured, you know what? Let's try doing this. However, but I've actually just stepped outside to go walk the puppy. So you want to go to a commercial break, and then I'll join you, or do you want to just go straight through? Your choice.
Well, you need to go out? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, not me, the dog.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I've got plenty of stuff to work with. Go ahead, and I'll catch up with you.
Okay, give me about 3 minutes. He's usually pretty quick.
Yeah, no worries. All right.
I'll be right back.
Yep. For those of you who haven't heard Peter before, he's like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to the Bible. I so admire his ability to me, the Bible is encrypted in so many ways. His ability to take that encryption and make it common English, to make it like, oh, now I see what you're saying. So we'll have the opportunity to share that with him and get his insight with all of this. In the meantime, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Trump appointee, by the way, she's not happy either with what's going on.
That's exactly what Trump did. He conducted and committed an act of war without congressional authority, seriously escalating the situation with Iran. And so now we're at a point of it's not a matter of, well, are we going to have a war with Iran? We are in a war with Iran right now. So the real issue is, are we going to allow this war to continue to escalate? And if so, for how long? And to achieve what objective?
Like I said, guys, I voted for him 3 times. And now the bottom line is more and more evidence showing that he may have very well been involved in some vulgar things. Now what do we do? Pam Bondi said that, well, I can't go after everybody because if I go after everybody, the whole system comes down. Well, hello. Isn't that draining the swamp? Isn't that what we voted for? I don't know, was it 70 some odd million of us said, yeah, that's what we want. I don't care who it brings down. If that individual, whoever that might be, male, female, whatever, is unquestionably guilty, there is hard evidence. What does they say? Beyond the shadow of a doubt? Evidence. Then they are gone. Get out. I don't care who. I don't care. I don't care. If it's Trump, then it's Trump. You can't do something like that and then walk away with just because you have money. That's what really hurts for me, is that I have personal experiences with this stuff. Infuriates me that somebody thinks that they can take advantage of somebody else because that person at that moment is weak for whatever reason that might be, out of fear, out of chaos, whatever it is, and do horrific things to them. How many of us are just, oh, well, bye-bye. I'm not going to be quiet about this. I'm not going to allow this to get swept under the rug. There are far too many who got hurt. And what's even worse is that it is existing today. This is still going on. Just because they're on a list, just because it was exposed, do you think for a moment that they stop? We better stop, Riscalla. We better stop. Get real. These are, I said, I don't think they're human. These are individuals who would, what was the name of that movie? Last Man Standing or something, where they go out on an island, they take this guy out, they find that this guy doesn't, he's a homeless guy, doesn't have any family. Hey, listen, we'll give you a great job. You're going to be a gopher. You're going to go for this and you're going to go for that. We're on this island. We're going to do some hunting, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, I'll go. I come to find out he is what's going to be hunted. That is real. I have told you many times, that they're going to do what they're going to do, and they tell us about it before they do it. They tell us about it in movies. They tell us about it in videos. They tell us about it in the music. But they tell us about it. It's their sick, twisted law, something to do with karma, I believe, that if they tell you what they're going to do and you don't do anything about it, then they're not responsible any longer for what happens. It's on you. And they may say it to your face or they may encrypt it, but they'll tell you what's going to happen before it happens. And if you don't say anything, if you don't stand up, just like right now, what we're talking about right now, we need to be standing up for these children and these women and on the innocent people. We need to be many of them don't have voices anymore. Many of them are not even with us anymore. Many of them went to see the Lord under such gruesome circumstances. Who's going to speak for them? And we have the ones who are, I don't want to say fortunate to be alive, but they don't feel like they're fortunate to be alive after having survived what they've survived. I listen to some of them, it brings tears to my eyes. So I don't care who it is. I don't care. You're not going to walk away from this if we find out, whoever you are. Again, I'm not accusing anybody, but I'm telling you, Trump's name is in the Epstein files a bunch of times, a whole bunch of times. That's not good. I read one file where it said he did some vulgar things. So is that going to bring the system down? Bring it down. You think any of these people are working for us? Come on. We need to wake up and open your eyes. Do you think for a moment, we can't even get them to sign into law that you have to have an ID to vote? But you have to have an ID to do every freaking thing else. They're not working for us. I really believe it. I said this a long time ago. You know, when you do the laundry and you do the whites, usually wash them in hot water, throw some bleach in there, kind of bring them back up again. Bleach out all that crap that's in there. Yeah, that's what we need to do to Washington. Bleach out them. Start over. And the people that come in, yeah, they have to be verified first. We're not going to accept you at your word. And somewhere along the line, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere, we're not supposed to have lawyers in the government. Now I understand why, but I'm pretty sure somewhere there's an amendment that says, hey, you're not supposed to have lawyers in the government. But most of them are lawyers. And I think I know why. Because the lawyers can bend the laws. They know how to get around it and still make it, quote, legal. Might be immoral, might be unethical. It might undermine really what the purpose of whatever it was, but it's not illegal. That's horse crap. Let's see if Peter's back. You back, Peter?
Yes, we are good to go.
Hot dog.
Happy puppy and everything. Yeah, hot dog. There you go. Anyway, I've still been listening to the show because I take my cell phone with me. It's, a double-edged sword here. It always is, being off the grid. But, we make do, and hopefully we're going to change things up here and have better communication shortly. I just have to get it all figured out. Hello, Starlink. I think I actually blew the person's mind who I was dealing with today at Starlink. And I know this is a little off subject, but I'm going to bring it home real quick. And so I'm talking to the sales representative, and I said, well, I said, Starlink is essentially a necessary evil. I said, think about it. It's a microwave beam that rides down a laser. I said, it's a directed energy weapon. Yes.
Yeah.
I said, it's all pointed toward us.
Oh,
and he thought about it, and he didn't know what to say. He goes, you're right. I said, just think of a magnifying glass on an anthill, right? Yeah, and so that rings of another verse within Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, which is the actual real Armageddon. Not this nonsense that's going on now. Not that it's nonsense on a cosmic level, but it's necessary and it needs to be done.
Peter,
yeah,
I want to. We played this on the show Revelation. I want to play just a few minutes of this because I think
sure.
You know what I'm going to play because we played it on the show, but I haven't played it here yet. I want people to understand something, that religion can be used for foul purposes. Foul purposes. It can be used for great purposes as well, but just remember, it can be used for foul purposes. Let me get this up, if I can.
Play the clip, and I'll put it all together at the end.
Okay. Here we go.
Was in preparation for Armageddon and also the return of Jesus. Cenk, is this comforting information for you?
No, just when you thought the Israeli Zionists were bad enough in starting wars for all the wrong reasons, here comes the Christian Zionists. Mm-hmm. Joy. Wait till you hear what the commander said about why we're in this war and what to do. Tell us about it, Yes.
All right, so let's give you the high points. This is from Jonathan Larson's report. He says, a combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. And that is according to a non-commissioned officer. So we'll talk more about whatever that even means later. But between Saturday and Monday, more than 110 complaints had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, or the MRFF, regarding the rhetoric about commanders in every branch of military. The complaints were widespread across more than 40 different units across roughly 30 military installations. And according to one report, the non-commissioned officer wrote to the MRFF that their commander urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. And it is very understandable that all of this is coming directly from the top, because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the U.S. military, airing monthly prayer meetings throughout the Pentagon. Last year, the Pentagon confirmed to Larson that Hegseth attends a weekly White House Bible study, and it's led by a preacher who says that God commands America to support Israel. And these are the people, again, who are running our country and running our military, and these are the things that they believe. So Larson spoke with MRFF president and founder Mikey Weinstein about the report, and this is what Weinstein had to say. He said, these calls have one damn thing in freaking common. Our MRFF clients, service members who seek MRFF aid, report the unrestricted euphoria of their commanders and command chains as to how this new biblically sanctioned war is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times, as vividly described in the New Testament and book of Revelation. Many of their commanders are especially delighted with how graphic this battle will.
All right, let's see if we can get back up here. What happened? There we go.
Yeah, we had this. Oh. You got it. There we go.
Yep.
So there you have it. Now we did, and I strongly recommend. Hey, if you're listening to this show, go listen to my Thursday night show on Trim Radio Network right here on Rumble. It has not been posted to YouTube yet. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because we went down a real rat hole and talked about the history of this. The history, we can go back further. We can go back to the 1st century. And that's only that we have to go all the way back to Babylon, ancient Babylon, back during the early days of Samaria, before there was a one world empire, back to the Tower of Babel, because that's where it starts. In ancient Babylon, you could worship anything. Where do you think child sacrificing started? That's where it comes from. You look at the Catholic Church, go to and look at the Vatican. What's the image that you always see? Mary holding a child. That's Semiramis, the Queen of Babylon, holding Tammuz.
It's the first time I ever heard that.
No, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Look at all the gods around around the Vatican. Wait, what's when you go right to what is it? The courtyard there, St. Peter's Square, or right in front of right where the obelisk is. You go and you you look at the statues around the obelisk. They're all gods, ancient gods. Oh, no, they're the saints. I'll call them what you want. You know what they are. Why are they standing around the penis of Ra, Amun-Ra, the sun god?
What does that got to do with the war in Iran?
Okay, we're talking about a centuries-old conflict, and it starts with the religious basis of a combination of ancient Babylon and ancient Egyptian put together. Okay, you remember when...
Peter, are you telling me that what we're seeing today is hundreds of years old? This is going back
thousands of years old.
Well, yeah, I'm all right. In my limited knowledge, I would think that after thousands of years, we'd have gotten over it already, huh?
No, because it's the same factions that are controlling the situation. That's the issue. It's the same extraterrestrials. I don't care what you want to call them. Call them the Greys. Call them the reptilians. Call them whatever you want to call them. But they're actually the satanic rulers of this planet, and that's obvious by what they do. And we're learning what they do, and the information is shocking. Okay,
I said earlier, these people they can't be human.
No, they're not. They're possessed at the highest levels.
And they boast about.
Yeah, it's the same control. It's the same demonic. Not that they're, and there's different levels because you got some pretty insane and low level demons, if you want to call them that. But we're dealing with a third of the stars that were dragged down from heaven. We're talking about the seven rulers that have been ruling planet Earth since ancient Babylon. We're talking about a religion which was set up after the flood, which purged an entire different hybrid race of humans and people who didn't have a regard for the truth. It was an extinction level event. Now let me snap this forward. That's where the origins lay. It all lays in the seven heads of the scarlet-colored wild beast. It's an extraterrestrial. We're talking cosmic entities here at the highest level. And so they are the controlling factors that are giving the people their power. So where's the power coming from? It's coming from the synagogue of Satan. Those who claim to be Jews and are not, but are lying. Oh, yeah. I will bring them before you, and they will do obeisance at your feet. That essentially means to bow down and see us as a ruler, as opposed to just nothing worth cabbing around. Think about that.
Well, I know.
And so that's the level that you're playing at. Now, how did we get to here? It's Knights Templar. It goes back to the creation of Islam. There's a lot of evidence that I'm sure would be really difficult to find. But I did the legwork, and other people have done the legwork, and there's a lot of evidence pointing to the most likelihood of Islam being created by the Holy Roman Empire back in 600 AD. Yeah, but now what I want to focus on
is that what that is? Controlled opposition?
Yes, exactly. because now you spread Islam, and then you created the Holy Wars, which goes on for 300 years.
Okay, but I want to get back to Iran.
It gave the kings and knights. We are, because this is all part of it.
All
You
right.
see, out of this comes the Knights Templar. Okay, who were the Knights Templar? Well, the Knights Templar went to.
I thought they were Christians. No.
Boy, I dug for this and dug for this and dug for this, and I could only find one document that was from when the call went out for the quotes Knights Templar. The first Knights Templar were Hebrew. They were Jewish.
Oh my God!
Hold on. Yes, these people were. Let's go back to the first century, and this is where we're going to start it off. That there was during the first century when Jesus was on the earth, almost exactly 2,000. Well, he has been on the earth for 2,000 years, but the anniversary comes up in 2029 in the fall. Exactly 2,000 years to when he started his ministry. Think about this. And we have to think about this from a cosmic level. I'm not religious, cosmic level. Because this all has to do with law. You brought up attorneys. You want to talk about cosmic law? Wrap your head around that. But yes, there is cosmic law. And that cosmic law has been violated. And so now there's going to be eventually a judicial decision made upon that. But that's a whole nother show, and I'll cover that in Revelation. Let's get back. Jesus turned around in the first century and he accused the two ruling classes, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, of that they were offspring of serpents. Their father was the devil.
Yeah.
He was a manslayer.
Yep.
And you're just like your father. Manslayers. The Sadducees, if I'm not mistaken, are the Pharisees would have been the class that came out of Egypt. Okay. Pharaohs, hello, Pharisees. And the Sadducees most likely was the dominant group that came out of Israel's captivity by ancient Babylon, the third world power. And so you've got, this is where the Talmud comes from. The Talmud is a Babylonian document which allows them to do, but by practicing this document, it allowed them to do a lot of heinous things. It wasn't based on the Pentateuch or the 5 books of the Bible, which is the Torah. The Torah is where the Torah code comes from, which is also interesting in itself. Not that the Bible needs to be encoded, but even when you look at it that way, you get different answers. It's all there in black and white. But religion whitewashed and painted over and cherry-picked and never told the history. Nobody ever learned the history. And the history is so important here because nobody teaches this. They teach dogma and doctrine, and then they certainly don't apply science to what's gone on within the scriptures. You got to apply the science. The science explains so much, and string theory was extremely enlightening when it comes to comprehending the scriptures. Oh, okay, we're in a 10-dimensional multiverse, huh? So that means if there's life in these dimensions, there's got to be life elsewhere, right? Well, yeah, that would be logical.
Peter.
And so, yes.
Get back to it.
Yeah. But here's what happens. Jesus calls the Sadducees and the Pharisees out, and he identifies them. And what happens in the first century, Rome comes in and conquers Jerusalem and takes 93,000 back to Rome and they become essentially residents of Europe. So the first opportunity that they had to go back there with the authorization of the church, remember the church controlled everything. It was the Holy Roman Empire. What did they do? They started digging. Well, first they got back there, they killed everybody, man, woman, and child. And then they started digging. People say, oh, they were digging for Solomon's gold. And, well, that could be part of it, but they were digging for documents. They were digging for information. Out of this comes the Knights Templar. Now, two riders on the same horse. And so you've got the Knights Templar faction, and then you also have the Jesuit faction. See, there's the Knights, and then there's the Jesuits. And the Knights answer directly to the Pope. And so within that 300 years, you had a lot of technology that literally came into Europe. And we got castles and unbelievable churches, and you had, out of the Knights Templar, when they were banned, you then had Freemasonry take over. Oh, you see where I'm going with this? Freemasonry, as we talked about on Thursday's show, is essentially the foot soldiers of the learned elders of Zion. And it's right there in their document. It's right there in that document. I prefer to call that book the Protocol of the Learned Elders of the Synagogue of Satan, because that's really what it is. They worship. They are the Jews those who claim to be Jews, but they're not. They're lying.
No, that's what we have in Israel.
Yeah.
Let me back up a minute. That's not accurate. That is the government that we have in Israel. There's many good people. It's just, I was saying earlier, it's just like here. We have a lot of great Americans here, but then we got the scumbag government, and it makes us look bad. I mean, that the other countries, I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny. The other countries are calling us the Epstein gang. It's the Epstein gang that's doing all the, that's how they see us now. Anyway, I got to get back to Iran. So if you can, bring me to Iran.
Okay, so you have to look at who created Israel. It was the English Rothschild family who created the situation in Iran. You want to talk about Epstein files? I found out today from a fairly reliable source that the French Rothschilds, there's over 17,000 references between Jeffrey Epstein and the French Rothschilds, and the evidence would lead one to...
He said he was an agent for them.
Yes, and he was. They were controlling him and blackmailing everybody that they could that was in power.
Yeah.
We're going to have to read all the whole protocol some night.
I saw several, and it's also in the files that were released. There were references to what you're talking about as well. So, but okay.
It's connected. It all connects. Who's behind this? So you've got a cult within the... Where did Ayatollah Khomeini come out of? He was in France for 20 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Iran. Yeah.
No, and so did they overthrow the Shah? Hello, CIA was deeply involved in that, and there's a whole reason why, and it's the same connections. It's different factions. The CIA is a blend of the OSS and the Hitler, the Third Reich's Gestapo. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, Operation Paperclip was a lot more than Warner von Braun and his Rocketeers.
Biblically, we're at war with Iran because of what you're saying. Biblically,
well, yeah, we can tie it in biblically, and that takes us back to cosmic law. But you have this family that's created a whole nother faction who believes that in order for them to bring in their Jesus figure, their Mahdi, they have to create World War III.
Yeah.
You've got the Zionists who say the same exact thing. In order for us to bring back the Messiah, or to bring the Messiah, we have to create World War III. Oh, wait a minute. Both sides of the same damn stick trying to create World War III.
Yeah. Well, we're off to a good start.
Well, here's... It's just that it started on Purim, or just before Purim, because that's also another connection. It was while Persia was after the Jews were released from Babylon, after Babylon the Great fell, or after Babylon fell, the third world power, to the Persians. You get the Book of Esther, which is essentially a short history book of exactly what they forced. This isn't, God's will was that it started now. Well, it may have been because it started under a blood moon.
And we just had a blood moon.
Yeah, that was the beginning of Purim. Purim is that there was a plot to wipe out the Jews in Persia by a Haman who was from the Amalekites. The Amalekites fought with Israel when they first came out of Egypt, and they tried to destroy Israel.
I thought it was Phoenicians. That's where I was wrong. So it was Jewish people.
It's the Amalekites.
Yeah. Okay.
It's that faction, that family. And so what a perfect thing. You see, with Haman, who had Amalekite, was a descendant of the Amalekites, had the king pass a law that would have caused the death for all the Jews. Yeah. And instead, and Esther, being Jewish, married to the king, she was the queen. Yeah. She literally put her life on the line and said, look, this is what you've done, and you've killed me. They would put her to death too under this law. And so the king signed another law that the Jews should be allowed to defend themselves, and anybody who wanted to help the Jews were welcome to do so. And they exterminated Haman and that Amalekite movement. And so here you've got the Rothschild family, the French branch and the English branch, having a battle over whose cult is going to take over the planet. And they're both fanatic cults. And then it bleeds over into Freemasonry, the foot soldiers of the learned, the protocol of the learned elders of the Synagogue of Satan. They created Freemasonry and controlled them. They were their marching soldiers that they were put. And so there's a whole. I covered that whole part of the protocol on last Thursday night show. I explained it all. I actually read what is written within that protocol. It all fits.
The Israel that we call Israel today, is that the Israel of the Bible?
No.
Yeah, that's okay.
Short answer, no.
So
Israel is known as the house that Rothschild built.
Yeah, but the majority of the people don't know that.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Yet anyway.
We're working on it.
There is this intrinsic belief that we have to support Israel. Riscalla. It says in the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who are against Israel will, fall the fate of God. Some I'm paraphrasing, but it's something along that. If you bless Israel, you're going to be good. If you don't, then you're going to be bad. That kind of thing. And it has been indoctrinated into our country. I had said earlier we should not have dual citizens within our government. I don't think that that is the right thing to do, particularly Jewish citizens, because of the requirement of being a Jewish citizen. They want that 100% loyalty to the Jewish state. So I'm going to play a video. This is about 7 or 8 minutes long. This is more evidence that Israel has an unhealthy effect upon us. That this isn't my imagination. This is coming from Tucker. Tucker, if I can't imagine somebody doesn't know who Tucker is. He checks things out. I used to not like Tucker because I wrote to him. This is many decades ago. I had written to him. I think he was still working at one of the major outlets, and I was trying to get to him about 9/11, and he basically called me an idiot in a nice way, but just called me an idiot. So I didn't really much care for him, but his eyes have opened up and he's seeing a lot of this stuff that I wish you could have seen it earlier, but the point is he's seen it. Here we go.
What is the damage right now to Israel and to U.S. bases in the Gulf, do you think?
Oh, well, the bases in the Gulf, I wish I had kept the window open that I was reading, but basically at least 3 of the bases have been devastated. The 5th Fleet headquarters, I am told, and if you look at the satellite imagery that you can find on open source information, it looks like, actually the base in Bahrain looks like Gaza. It's completely moonscape. So the American 5th Fleet, now I don't know if there's any, because I think we might have evacuated that base before this started. So I don't want to say there's casualties because I don't know. But just looking at those satellite images, that it looks like that it's been flattened, and that's a very expensive base that you and I paid for. And that was the sort of the hub for the U.S. Navy in the Middle East for many years. And it has been completely taken offline. And I have serious doubt. I was talking also to a Middle East expert not long ago, and he was saying that with these bases being obliterated, basically, to use a term, essentially he doesn't think, because he thinks the Arabs are going to be so irate with us for having kicked over this hornet's nest, because it is not going to end anytime soon. His belief is that once the war does end or settles down enough for us to say, hey, we're good, we're done, the Arabs are going to say, you're not building back in our countries anymore. So
why would they? We didn't defend them. I mean, this is a reciprocal relationship. They're not doing this because they love us. They give us deals on billions, hundreds of billions in foreign investment in the United States, all this. But in exchange, we promised to protect them, and we didn't.
That's right. And in fact, there's reports, and I think they're credible. In fact, the Saudi official was complaining about this 2 days ago. Basically, whatever air defense systems were in these Arab countries were sent over to Israel.
Yeah.
And they actually left our own bases and people vulnerable. Our own government did, to protect Israeli targets rather than to protect our men and women in uniform.
Do you believe that's true? Do you believe the U.S. government prioritized Israel over our own troops?
If you had asked me this a year or 2 ago, I would have said no way. But after seeing that Huckabee interview, by the way, bravo. After seeing that Huckabee interview, I can't imagine how we didn't do that. I mean, it is very clear the United States is being led around the nose right now by what should be its proxy. I mean, let's get it real. I mean, it should be, so
they're the housekeeper. We're the homeowner. Like, what is this? I don't get it. No, I'm serious. I don't understand.
I agree. So I do believe, we probably did. And the worst part here, one of the worst parts is, I have a colleague who's in the Gulf states, and he tells me, he sent me a picture of the warning he got from the State Department to get out. And to cut to the chase, it basically said, you're on your own to get out. Like, we're not doing flights.
That's true.
And meanwhile, I hear that until 24 hours ago, the British government was evacuating their people, no questions asked. So you mean to tell me that the sole superpower is picking a fight with this missile city that is Iran, and we're not even going to provide exfiltration for our people? That's not an empire. That's not a superpower. That's a power in decline. That's what the Chinese see, by the way. And the Chinese think their time is at hand because we are committing national suicide with this insanity.
I wish I could disagree. It's one of the saddest things I've
I wish I didn't have to say these things.
In my life. No, I totally agree. And you think of the men whose lives are going to be taken, Americans who are like the best people.
Already have been.
already have been. And you look at, I think the DoD has only released the hometowns of 4 of them, I think, but it's like Iowa, a couple from, and it's like the best people we have.
These are our people. Right?
No private equity kids in that group. I
that's
notice.
Right. That's right.
So
and I just want to just say something,
yes.
and I probably shouldn't, but I was, as I said, a very early supporter of Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. I thought his takes on hypersonics were good. I thought that he was a warfighter, so he understood in a way that maybe you and I could never understand. Right. But I was mortified by his press conference this morning, the glibness. 6 Americans are dead because of a political decision that was made. Obviously, I don't expect him to challenge the president on this publicly, but at the very least, it's a solemn day, and we should probably not be acting like this is just another walk in the park, because this is not. This is not going to plan. Now, hopefully we can pull it out of the fire, whatever that looks like. But right now, this is not going the way we were told it was going to go, and certainly not the way the president assumed it would go once Khamenei was whacked.
So the question, I think, is, do we commit ground troops, Americans on the ground?
They already are.
On the ground. Okay, so explain what you know, if you don't mind.
So it's just, again, I don't have any, but just for the record, because I know I have no access to classified information.
Right.
I am an open source guy, but I can read a freaking room. And I can tell you right now, if the president went into this air war thinking I'm going to be over in 3 or 4 days, I don't have to worry about the stockpiles. And now he's waking up and going, holy cow, everything's running out and I got to keep fighting. He's talking about now opening up a front in Iraq using the Kurds, which is lunacy. What are the Turks going to do?
Exactly. Well, by the way, the point is because Israel's next priority is Turkey. So the point is to diminish Turkey.
I know all about that.
It's the truest. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's that. And then there's the fact that the president wants to be seen as quote unquote winning, and winning means he's already outlined what the objectives are. And this was also a big bugaboo of mine. War and strategy is about objectives, attainable political objectives. Clausewitz, war is an extension of politics through other means. Trump came out on Saturday. He's repeated it since. The aims are regime change. The aims are denuclearization, and the aims are getting rid of the ballistic missile system. He's now added on getting rid of the Navy of Iran. So those 4 objectives. What is the objective of the Iranian regime? Survive. That's all they have to do. Survive long enough because the Chinese and Russians are giving them the intel. They know that our stockpiles are about to be depleted. So all they have to do is hold out until we have to start cannibalizing Indo-PACOM. And there's going to be a real political fight at that point. I'm told that Indo-PACOM leaders are already raising quite a stink behind the scenes because they know once those systems are gone out of their arsenal, they ain't coming back anytime soon. So the question of ground troops, this gets us to that. I don't believe it would ever be an invasion like Iraq in 2003. First of all, we don't have that capability anymore, which should scare every American because we don't have that capability anymore. Second of all, the way the country is arrayed, Trump is trying to do this in like a light footprint methodology. So he, I think, is going to replicate the U.S. strategy in Afghanistan in 2001, where we sent a bunch of Special Forces A teams and CIA paramilitaries infiltrated the country, linked up with already organized locals. It was the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan. This time it'll probably be the Mujahideen Khalq, MEK, to try to basically organize a movement with the Kurds coming in probably from the Iraqi side I think it's the northwest of the country, and will be coming in from the south. And it will kind of link up in whatever's left of Tehran. That's the plan, I think, using air power as an interdiction, exactly like we did against the Taliban in 2001. Well, first of all, the MEK is not the Northern Alliance at its height. It's not.
Right.
Second of all, you're talking about far greater ground that's going to have to be covered, and a logistics tail that is we're talking like this is not going to work. Then you're going to have to deal with the rugged terrain of Iran. Iran is basically like Switzerland. It's just surrounded by mountains. Yeah. It's a desert in the middle. This is not good geography for the kind of tactics we're talking about. And again, the size matters. This is a much bigger country than Afghanistan with many more people. So we're talking about a much longer end commitment on our part. And I think the president knows this. And I think he's sort of like the frog boiling in the water. He's just sort of slowly getting us used to the idea before he has to send troops in, because he wants to, quote, win. And well, winning for him is regime change. The regime is not going to change on its own. It's not going to be the people who can do it because they're not organized enough. They're too divided amongst each other. So he's going to need to send in special forces and CIA to basically do the organizing on the ground and to do force multipliers. And I'm sorry to say that the likelihood of this working is very, very low. And now we're talking about being seen in this region as strategically defeated by what we were told was a backward military force in Iran.
The first American to die in the war in Afghanistan was a CIA officer, Johnny Michael Spann. Thanks for watching. You can go to tuckercarlson.com for our entire library of everything we've done, and we hope you will.
Okay. I'm told that we got knocked off. Looks like we got knocked off of YouTube. We'll be back. That was happening on my show last week too, especially when what happened to camera. Especially when I was going over some things that were quite touchy. I did send an invite to Maggie if she's listening. You're welcome to join us, Maggie. It's always an honor to have you on.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll cover more of this when she comes on. People are going to need what she has because we're headed for what we have happening right now is the Seventh World Empire being done away with and the Eighth World Empire coming into power. It's the fulfillment of Revelation 17. What is the end goal of the Eighth World Power? To destroy religion. To destroy religion.
So that could be the lead up to the alien thing, right? We have Mr. Old Vomit himself saying, "Oh yeah, well, there's real thing. I haven't seen them, but yeah, they're out there."
Yeah, and you know, we can talk about this at an extraterrestrial level because that's really where it's at. You got countries that are being. They use this example recorded in the book of Daniel. Daniel's praying, you know, what's going to be our future? Where do we go from here? They were in captivity by the Persians. And so finally, the angel Gabriel shows up and says, "Hey, sorry I'm late, but I was fighting the Prince of Persia and I couldn't get past to deliver the message." And so, okay, so you had an extraterrestrial that was fighting another extraterrestrial and couldn't get to deliver the message to Daniel that he had been praying about. And so he said, I had to get Michael, the Archangel Michael, to come and fight the Prince of Persia so I could deliver this message. And he delivers the message and he says, okay, I got to go back and fight the Prince of Persia. And look, the Prince of Greece is coming. These are the principalities. And obviously, the Prince of Persia does not want to give up control of Persia. But he's going to have to because the eighth king is supreme. The eighth king will conquer this.
Who's the eighth
biblical king? Hello, Trump.
Oh, we just lost Maggie. I just had Maggie on. She's gone. Well, she'll be back. Yeah. While we're talking about Trump, this is something I wanted to play for the listeners as well. I've caught a lot of grief because I've spoken out against some of the things that he's done. It doesn't mean I hate the man. It means I don't like what he's done. And again, it's this sick choice of You want bad or you want worse? You get your choice. And we deserve better. Anyway, this is what scares me. This is why I don't think this is the original Trump. Just watch this and you'll see.
It started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it. Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it.
We're just going to fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it.
Well, I agree with what you're saying there. There is definitely more than one Trump. I pay close attention to this. And I noticed that it was really obvious when they had the rededication to Notre Dame. And Trump was greeting Prince William. And Prince William is 6'3". Trump is 6'3". They should be looking each other eye to eye. They're not. Trump's looking up at him. Trump's obviously at least 3 to 5 inches shorter than Prince William. And the Trump that you just showed, we would call him.
I played that video earlier. It's like I told you, it doesn't seem like the same guy. You know.
No,
anyway,
it's
I've
not.
got Maggie up on the stage, so let me get Maggie. How are you, my dear? Thank you for joining.
Oh, hi, Riscalla. How are you? Hello, Peter.
Hello, Maggie.
I had to jump in because if I don't, he won't quit. You know that.
So, yeah, a lot going on here, huh?
What can you share with us regarding what's going on in Iran?
I don't see it ending well. I think this is basically a real cluster right now, and I think the thing that concerns me, the thing that I've been shown to look out for. In fact, I have a friend traveling tomorrow, driving down to Florida. Is I don't like the sleeper cell situation in our country, and I think that we need to be very, very. That's something that we should all be pretty concerned about. From short-term goal, that's my biggest concern right now.
I said the same thing. Same thing, Maggie. I said the same thing during the monologue. Why are we wasting all of this money bombing Iran? Yeah. We're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars bombing them when we know damn well they have sleeper cells here. We know they're here. Why aren't we investigating that? Why aren't we taking the same money and finding out where these people are? And you talk about getting rid of people out of our country. Get them the hell out of our country.
I had this exact same conversation with my buddy Bobby the other day. Peter knows, a longtime friend of the family for over 20-something years. And we were having this conversation by text. And I said to him, my main concern right now is this country. We should be taking all of this money, internalizing it, and focusing on finding these people and getting them out of here. Yeah. Because it's not going to be good. Because not only do they have the ability to do, like, say, a 9/11 thing, or look at today. It was just today. There was a bomb threat on a plane coming in to Florida. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear
they showed the video. They told everybody, sit down, put your hands on put your heads on your laps, and put your hands up in the air. And they came and took some guy off the plane. The plane was coming into Florida. I think it was Fort Lauderdale. It was coming into. It wasn't JetBlue, but it was one of those other cheapy ones. I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyway, I believe it was today. I just saw it. But yeah, that's what we need to do. All of our interests need to be fortifying the internal structure of our country. We do not need to be spending like $1 billion a day on these wars. It's absolutely ludicrous. To speak to what you were discussing when I was brought on, as far as Trump, I know that there have been at least 2 of them, maybe 3. But the problem that we're having here is that the deep state has taken control of his seat and his position of power.
That's my fear.
Then we're really screwed, right? Because now there's no good guys in place to help, right? If you believe that theory.
Not only that, Maggie, the perceived good guy is going to betray the masses.
Well, Riscalla, I've done shows for years, and when I brought to the table that I was shown that Trump would win over Clinton. I was shown what Clinton was doing to the children. And I also was shown that he would do many great things for this country, but to watch him later. I got the biggest blowback from not only my listeners, but from people whose shows I did interviews on. And I even said, when he got shot in the ear, watch that, that's not a martyr thing. I pretty much got blasted by everybody else. And now,
that whole thing is questionable too. And the more I look into it, that whole thing, you realize we know very little about that. Very little.
But let me just say, how do you guys like me now? Because they all told me I was crazy, and how could you say that? This is our president. He's here to save our country. And look what's happening now, right? Irregardless of whether or not it's an actor.
That's one of the points I was trying to make earlier. If you really are somebody that is after the truth, you have to have an open mind, and you have to be willing to listen to something that goes against the grain of your very body. Because if you don't, they could be telling you the truth. They could sound crazy, but in the future, what happens is, how many of these quote conspiracy theories have happened now?
Pretty much all of them. Right into the snow. I did a show a couple 3 weeks ago about parasites. I've got the melted jars of snow sitting here with the blue flashlight, and there's stuff growing in it, and has been since when I pulled it out of the snow 3 weeks ago. These things are getting bigger, and there are more of them, and they're in the water. Now, stands to reason, ecologically speaking, yes, there are parasites in the water. There's parasites in the drinking water. That's why they put chlorine and all the chemicals into it. But the amount that I'm seeing is it's like, do you remember when we were kids and we had sea monkeys and the little crystal rocks that grew? Yeah, these are not like sea monkeys. They look like kind of hydra-like or worm-like in appearance.
Oh, gee.
So but I digress. My point with Iran and all of this is I don't see it getting any better. We have to stop taking the money and spending it outside. We need to strengthen and internalize our country, get all the bad guys out. But we need to take care of the people in the states that are suffering. We still have vets that are being displaced. We still have the children, the Epstein files, all of this, and nothing's happening.
So you and I did not have any discussions prior to the show. And you and I are saying almost the same exact thing. So obviously this is not just it's not just me and it's not just you. It's got to be if it's you and me, there's got to be others that feel the same way. It's something what they used to tell me there's something's rotten in Denmark or something along that line. Something's not right.
So something stinks in Denmark,
But that's one of the things that I tried to do on my show, Riscalla, honestly, is I present the Democrats obviously in more of kind of a bad position than the Republicans. But I've also, over the course of the past year and a half, if you go back and listen to my shows, I've tried to be objective to a point, but I've also brought up some negative stories on Trump because I've been trying to kind of spoon feed the public because we have so many people that were on, let's call it our side for lack of a better term, that were so pro-Trump because he did save our country. He did some amazing things with that. We would be in visa camps right now.
That's what I was saying during the monologue. He said all the things that we wanted to hear. He pissed off all the people that we wanted pissed off. He had to be on our side. That's why I'm wondering if he hasn't been swapped out. Go ahead, Maggie.
I don't know that. I don't know. Yes, I don't believe it's always the real Trump that's there. But when you look at things, I go back to what I was shown with Scala, and I've never been shown anything wrong in vision. Watch him later. I did not like his stance on the vaccination shots. We've talked about that before on your previous shows. But furthermore, he's not fulfilling his campaign promises. I'm going to be the peaceful president. Really?
Yeah.
Show me. Really? So we have, it's a whole ball of wax, and it's very entangled. It's very dark. There's a lot of duplicitous stuff going on that we will never know. But he was supposedly in conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene and told her, well, I can't really release those records because my friends are on it. Now,
because it will hurt my friends, is what he said.
Yeah.
It will hurt my friends. And my response to that is, Mr. President, if these are your friends, what kind of person are you?
So pretty much everybody's on the Epstein list except for maybe you, me, and Pete, right? So we know this.
Pam Bondi said, well, I can't go after everybody who bring the system down. Isn't that what we wanted? We wanted to drain the system. We wanted to drain the swamp.
Yeah, I've looked into her. If you look into her history in Florida,
I'm not a failure.
Yeah. And so
I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say was, I think Trump's panel the first time around was put in place. He's a businessman, and I think that the people that were given to him to run with, and the people that he had, closely around him in a circle in the first election, were because he trusted his panel, and then that blew up in his face. And this time around, I don't know, because the people that are there, look at Dan Bongino when he stepped up. I mean, Peter will tell you. I told him I thought that was a total and complete joke because I sniffed him out as being a phony 2-3 years ago when he was doing his shows. And, the people that you can't bring in mainstream media hosts to be in any kind of position of political power because they were a talk show host and maybe in the army. Where are our guys that served our country forever, that were really stand-up guys that have clean records, and the people that could really bring changes about in this country? I don't see anybody on this panel really that's doing that. I'm seeing a lot of BS. I'm seeing a lot of promises. I'm seeing a lot of back talk, and I'm seeing a whole lot of retractions and black lines through everything, right? Yeah. So then again, now he's coming out with the UFO thing to try and distract over here. Yeah. A couple years ago was Johnny Depp and the Kardashians, and you know what I mean? It's one vicious circle. But what I was shown years ago was to watch him later, and I've been trying to educate people on my show in the course of the past year, being somewhat positive to him. But look at this, and look at this. Keep your mind open. Because if you look at biblically, and that's Peter's forte, these things are predicted to happen. And I think I've told you before, too, in private, anybody that follows, if you don't, you should be following Alexandria. It's... Pete, what is it?
Possibly Alexandra.
Probably Alexandra.
Probably.
Like
sorry, yes.
I found her about 3 years ago.
She could have been a protege who just took it to the next level. I love this girl. She's great. I never met her, never talked to her, but she does her research. Maggie, go ahead.
I found her almost 4 years ago, and when she speaks about the biblical side of things, straight from the Bible, and she correlates it to what's going on today, out of anybody, and I've said this now consistently for 2 years, she seems to be the only person that really has a handle on what's going on in this country, because we all want to believe in a savior. We all want to believe in a hero. I've been trying to educate people for 8 years. Nobody's going to come and save you. We need to stand up as a country, become united, and everyone needs to stand together to get rid of this evil. And they are so greatly outnumbered. My God, it's like 1,000,000 to 1 when you look at the ratio between us and the elite. It's incredible, but it's the same old, and I've said this ad nauseum, Roman Colosseum. It's divide and conquer. And until people get that through their thick heads, this nation is going to topple. I speak to my son who's born and raised in Italy, but now is in Switzerland. And we had a very in-depth conversation. He's actually in cybersecurity, and he does lectures all over the world. And we spoke about this past week, and we agreed several months ago, if the U.S. falls, Europe is gone. We're the last vestige of freedom on this planet. And in so many aspects, that literally at this point is an illusion of freedom. Yeah. We truly don't have the freedoms that were presented to us in the Constitution, do we? No. So it really needs to be a grassroots movement. And I've been trying to wake people up gently and kind of sarcastically in my shows with humor, and to make it fun and lighthearted, so that you don't come out of that hour feeling like, oh my God, I'm so depressed, or I'm so anxious, or something more to be afraid or worried about. But in the reality of the situation, things are not as they seem on any level. And this administration is just, look, when he did that conference, when he first came in for re-election, and he brought Peter Thiel's Palantir onto the platform, I about died. I couldn't believe it. Because anybody that does any research at all into Peter Thiel and what his company stands for and what they'd like to institute by way of spying on humans, taking away our freedoms, the microchips, all of that That's him. That's the guy. Between him and Elon, we're there. We're there.
His technology is what we used in Venezuela. That's how they found Maduro so quickly. That technology that he has. So imagine that technology being turned on you and me. We didn't do anything wrong, but we just expressed our opinion one day. They didn't like it, and they turned that technology off on you, and turn it on you and me.
Let's go back to COVID in New York City and China. And let's go back to Italy. People were bleeding out of their ears then, were they not?
People say again. People were
bleeding out of their ears, and they were collapsing in the streets, and they were bleeding out of their nose.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened was they gave them the injection. They turned on the 5G. This is that, only better. This is that on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, they absolutely have that technology. Look what happened in Hawaii. We could go on and on. They've had this technology for years. And he bragged about it on stage. And you don't think for one moment that they would look to put that toward anybody that appears to be untoward or against the administration, depending on
not pulling the line. Anybody who doesn't pull the line.
Yeah, until, social credit scoring. I mean, everything right there. It's the perfect storm. And he put his in place. Well, it's going to create jobs in Texas. Yeah, but it's also going to desecrate humanity, you idiot. It's like, wake up.
They have us totally distracted now with this war going on and these other things happening in the background. And who knows how long this war is going to go on, because I don't think this is going to be we're in and we're out. I think they got the shock of their lives when they found out, I think it's 3 and maybe 4 of our bases in different countries have been devastated, just devastated to the tune. It may be into the trillions before it's all over. The countries that they were destroyed in, who's to say wherever they're going to allow us to build back? Because most of the defense equipment that was there to defend that country was taken out to go defend Israel.
Yeah, yeah, and there has never been.
Can I answer that just with one?
Let me just finish my thought, Pete. Okay,
Sure, absolutely.
I think I said this the last time I was on your show, Riscalla, is that there's never been an American president that has gone against Israel, and you'll never see that. We're in their pocket. We're in their pocket. And I watched a speech by Trump just about 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about Venezuela, I believe. And at the very end of his speech, they cut him off. But he actually said, I stand with Israel. And then they cut the clip. He was supposed to say, I stand with Venezuela, or whoever he was speaking about at the time. But he clearly said, I stand with Israel. I played that clip on my show. I'm like, did anybody else hear that? So
it's pretty obvious now. I mean, you'd be hard pressed not to see it. My gosh. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I actually lost my train of thought. I was listening to what Maggie was saying, and it
welcome to my world.
Out. Yeah. Shucks. Oh, Maggie, go ahead. I'll think of it eventually. But I was paying attention to what you had to say there, and I was like, yeah. Well, when you talk, you make a lot of sense. Let's face it. And what if you could? But I kind of said this early, but later in the show, I said Maggie's got something that everybody's going to need. But the one thing I did want to interject, yes, that clip that you played earlier, it started off with in Sao Paulo, Brazil, with the image of Christ, right? Do you know what else is it?
We're going to tell the troops
where they was talking about the Zionist troops, exactly.
Yeah.
The Christian Zionists. You know what else is in Sao Paulo, Brazil? The Temple of Solomon. Yeah. Cut 2 stones, not one, and we'll build it in Sao Paulo, below Christ, the Messiah. Interesting. But they've already got all this.
Isn't Brazil's? I got to go look at a map. I thought in my mind Brazil is a long ways away from the Middle East.
Yeah, but that's where the statue of Christ is. I forget the exact
that statue was made long. That I can understand, but I didn't. Holy smokes! I did not know.
It's symbolism of bringing in the Messiah. But what has to happen is this isn't just the fight that we see. Let's go back. Epstein was working for the French Rothschilds, who had this power put into Iran 40 years ago, right? And so it's not necessarily the ground war with Iran as it is the fight with the satanic cabal, those from the synagogue of Satan. And so you've got the English Rothschilds, which controlled the Crown Corporation, the French Rothschilds, which controlled the presidency and everything else. Who controls the money system in the United States? The Federal Reserve, the big banks. It's all Rothschild. Who sits on all the Fortune 500 companies? It's like they all have the same people sitting on them, on the boards. They're controlled by guess who?
You mentioned the Federal Reserve. This was another thing that Trump was saying, we're going to shut down the Federal Reserve, which, again, that's what I want. I don't want a central bank. I don't want people who are not elected to control what the value of my money is. I still have to work just as hard to earn that dollar, but what value is it to me if I'm working just as hard, but the value of the dollar I'm earning is continuously going down, down, down. So I'm right there. Yeah.
And so where this is going to lead is we're going to see an onset of World War III.
I think we're there.
The one thing, the last thing I'm going to say is, we're depleting the stockpiles. You got also all those missiles over there. I knew I would come back to this. What I wanted to interject was Space Force. Space Force works on so many different levels. And who controls the directed energy weapons?
You mentioned the Space Force. They fired off a nuclear. How did they? I'm trying to figure out how they worded it. A nuclear capable missile from one of the air bases in California. I can't remember. Not Langley. Anyway, it could have been Langley. I don't know. It's an Air Force base in California. Just launched that just the other night. Testing, kind of just letting Iran know, hey, listen, this will hit you. You're not careful. We'll send it to your way.
Meg, thank you for letting me interject there. Please continue.
Well, just to further answer your question, Mr. Riscalla, I think this is all a detraction.
Yeah.
It's to get us, away from the Epstein files. And a distraction, and we're spending a lot of money over there that we needn't, and I think it's an Israel-backed move.
It is. I agree.
And
100%.
and what about the little people, the kids, the little babies that we have dying over there now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so sad to me to think about. We're supposed to protect our elderly, those who are less fortunate, those who cannot defend themselves, our children. We're failing so miserably on all of those spectrums. It's saddening to me.
That was one of my questions in the monologue. I don't understand why we should be, by the millions, we should be rising up and saying, we demand. We're not asking you. We demand that you release the information. You can redact the victims' names. That's totally understandable. Everybody else, we want names. We want total transparency. Nothing redacted other than victims' names.
I agree wholeheartedly. And they need to be brought down. But in order for that to happen, and this is where the crux of the matter lies, in my opinion, is not enough people are standing up and coming together and putting down their Xboxes and putting down their LGBTQ flags and their Black Lives Matter and all of these other silly things that Soros funded to split the masses until everybody comes together and stands united as one to defeat these evil forces. there is no hope.
That's the sad part.
And you know, I've been praying on this for 2 years, and I saw two outcomes. You know, and I saw, well, if everybody comes together, it can go this way, and if it doesn't, it's going to go a different direction. And not to interrupt you, but that's as I see it now, and it's a very bleak outcome. But you know, biblically speaking, are we doing what we're supposed to be right now?
I think Peter can say yes. Is that right, Peter? We're supposed to be where we're at?
No.
Well,
Are we? I said, are people doing what they're supposed to be right now? Are we defending the little children? Suffer not the little children; let them come unto me. You know, are we defending those less fortunate? Are we feeding the hungry and the poor and taking care of the people?
We're going to have to come to a spiritual awakening. And a lot of people are going to need hand-holding through this seriously. That they're going to need a lot of counseling. They're going to need a lot of reassurance. What we're facing, keep in mind, because of the overthrow of the election in 2020, those countries that were involved, including the Vatican, the United States is technically at war with. So what we see being portrayed and who's pulling the levers, behind the curtain, I know what the outcome is going to be. Exactly how we get there is going to be interesting as all the puzzle pieces start to come together. But people are going to be scared out of their wits, faint out of fear. And that's
the modus operandi. Yep.
And that's where Maggie's got fantastic capabilities in. Maggie, I hand the show back to you. Parlay that stack.
I just, I feel as though, the country, not only we have the problem of people being apathetic, they don't care. They don't want to hear about it. They're worried about where their next Gucci purse is coming from, or the next haircut, or the next video game. The younger generation.
I said earlier in the monologue, the CIA should be called a marketing agency, because that's really what they're good at. They're good at getting people to whatever it is that they want. We don't realize that even the corporations use psychological operations on us, and the evidence of that is when, I don't know if it's still happening, but I used to see videos of people, if something new like from Apple came out, like a game or something, one of the games or a phone or something, people would literally camp out waiting for this stuff, right? Now CIA does the same thing, but instead of for products, they do it for politics, so that we can overthrow somebody. They've been meddling in Iran since the time the Ayatollah came in place. We're constantly having our nose in other people's business. And I said many years ago, and I'm afraid it's coming to pass now, it's a law of karma. You cannot continue to do bad things over and over and over again and not expect something bad to happen to you. I think we're the first step into something bad happening to us now.
Yes, I would agree, but also with the psych ops, what they are basically is what they'll do is they'll present a situation. They know the end game. They know the result that they want to achieve. And so they'll set up a scenario and they'll get everybody to buy into it. And then what happens is, and what's happening now, and it's becoming increasingly more effective, much to my chagrin, because I had not anticipated as many of the American people being as stupid as they actually are. Forgive me for saying that, but here's where we're at. They're setting up the chessboard. They know the end game they want. And when people are confused and anxious and scared, their first move is always to rely on the government. And we saw this in Nazi Germany, right? So that's where they're priming us for. They're getting us nervous. They're getting us anxious. They're getting us scared. Oh, rely on the government. We'll take care of you. They already have the end goal. They know what they want to achieve. And that solution, once presented to the American people, at the time that they're going to present it, will be almost like, oh my God, this is what we need. This is what we want. And in that aspect, it's going down the veins of the digital currency and the social credit scoring and all of that. That's where we're going to end up, and that's prophecy as well. But the other side of the coin is there are a good percentage of people even people that you would not expect to be, because they say they read the Bible and they say they're a good person, that have demonic influence right now, whether it be full-blown possession or oppression. I would say conservatively, at least conservatively, 60% of the people walking the planet right now have either an oppression or possession problem going on.
Lord
and so
have
when you have that, if you look at the comments on these threads on social media, when there is an instance of a shooting or somebody coming into a school and killing all these people, you have people commenting, well, good, they deserve to die, and where's your God now? And oh, I thought God was going to save you. And where is our empathy and our compassion for our fellow human beings, right? It's non-existent on a lot of levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all you got to do is look at the comments on social media and see how rabid people are in face of a tragedy.
Watch videos where somebody's getting beat up. Instead of somebody stepping in, they want to be the first one. Yeah, I got to get this on. I got to stream this. I got to be the first one.
Yeah, so that's the other part of the problem is it's running rampant. And we are in the days where there are going to be a lot of false prophets, and there are a lot of people out there saying, I follow the Bible and I'm a good person, but they're really not. You know? So that's what we have going on as well. That's the other side of the equation. That's what I wanted to get out there. Yeah.
Well, I have a hard time believing that the man who took us to war just now, where's that at? I can't believe this is the same guy.
War hawks. They want to draft your kids to die in wars, and they will never fight themselves. You know, we'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars that never end. These endless wars that we've been in, I've gotten us out of so many. We don't want to get into wars. We're tired of fighting. I'm the only president in the last 84 years that didn't start a war. Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. We will have prosperity and peace. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Remember, I'm the president of peace. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. He's going to start a war. I said, no. My rhetoric is going to keep us out of wars. And that's what happened. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
So I can't believe that's the same man that we have today. He spoke about so many times that this war would never have happened. What happened to my camera? This war would never have happened if I were the president, or there's going to be no new wars. You know, I'm the president of peace. It's like you're raining. You're telling me it's raining, but you're pissing on me. That's how I feel right now.
Well, here's the thing.
If I can comment, and then Maggie, I'll let you take the floor there. The problem that we tend to forget is what Iran has been into with funding Hezbollah, Hamas. These radical groups have all come out of Iran. A lot of people have no clue what they're doing in Africa. We're having these mass killings of Christians. That's all being instigated by the Sharia law that is backed by Iran's brand of Islam. And so, you got the sleeper cells. They were involved in stealing the election of in the United States in 2020. But you can never have peace in the Middle East unless you get rid of the proxies like Hamas and the other one that I just mentioned, or any of the other little outposts that are ready to shoot their neighbors because they're not practicing Sharia law. And I want this to be totally clear. I have no prejudice every place I've gone to, pretty much, I've enjoyed being with the people. I grew up in a predominantly, didn't grow up from birth, but we moved to a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. I had friends that were Jewish. You know, it was a pretty mixed neighborhood. And it's, I have a friend whose mother was Jewish and his father was Iranian. And I asked him, what's going on there? And he said, Peter, the people all get along for the most part. He said, it's politics. It's politics.
Yep.
And so you have to end the political difference, but they're using religion to essentially annihilate religion. Yeah, and so that's where it's going to go. And we're in for a difficult situation here. But all the different things that Trump, when he was saying he wants to be the president of peace, he wants to, peace and security, peace and security, peace and security. Yeah, that's exactly what the scriptures say. When the nations declare peace and security, then the end is instantly upon them. So we're going to reach that part of peace and security, but we're going to go through hell to get there. Yeah, right now we will. Maggie, thank you.
Oh, that's fine. What I was going to say earlier is if you look at just what happened in Venezuela, Trump garnished a lot of political support with that move because he took out the bad guy and kidnapped him. But what some people may fail to realize is he didn't get out the roots of the evil in that country, in the political system that's in place. So, yeah, they kidnapped him. And yeah, that was, I guess, a good move. But they didn't get out the roots of the evil politics that are controlling that country. And so now it's kind of like, did you just make those people go from bad to worse? Because there's a woman that the people wanted to be put in place that was a servant of the people and was going to be good for the country, but she's got no shot of getting in there because the guys that are still in charge are all still his regime, you see. So he kind of didn't finish the job there, and I would have had more respect for him if he had gone in and gotten rid of the corrupt government and helped to institute people in place in that country that would truly help to make that country great and help the country to thrive and help the people that reside there. Because it could very reasonably go much worse if they put another guy in charge that's worse than him. And so you have to look at it that way too. He didn't take care of the job there. He should have cleaned all of them out there. It's like a hornet's nest, right? They got the guy in charge, but they didn't get the rest of the guys that are all crooked that are still in control. So big deal. On the surface, it looks like a great move, but the roots of the evil are still there. When you look at Iran, I watch videos of people who have family in Iran. The people there are being murdered. I played a clip on my show. There's a lady that's got an aunt there. She says they kill us. She says there's bodies in the streets lined up worse than the garbage in New York City. And she said, my family, my immediate family, my aunt's family, we got to live. She said they went in and they beat the crap out of all of them, but they let them live. They didn't kill them. So, yes, I agree that in a case like that, when the people are oppressed, they do need help and they do need to be free. And I can understand to a degree him doing something like that if he's going to get rid of all of the evil that's in charge of the government. But you don't just, take out the head guy and leave the roots of the evil in place. It's not doing anything. If anything, he just opened them up for something far worse.
You know what that reminds me of? Go ahead, Manny. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. But internally speaking, when I was talking to my son about this, I'm like, dude, he needs to focus on us first. We need to get these sleeper cells out of here. We need to fortify our country. We need to keep the money in hand economically and spend that to inwardly create a totally safe system. We need to work on our infrastructure. We need to work on our power grid. We need to get China out of our country that owns all this property. We need to eradicate BlackRock. We need to get the Epstein people done. This is where his concern should be. He's not Venezuela's president. He's not Greenland's president. He's our president. We elected him to do a job. He needs to do it. Right? He needs to do it. So,
what you reminded me of, with what you were saying, what you reminded me of is how many times I talked to somebody, and we'll mention somebody like Hillary Clinton. Oh, well, she was executed in 2019, I think is the latest number that's come up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take it for what it's worth. Let's say she actually was executed in 2019. We still have one that's just as bad as the original. So what good did that do? Right?
Right.
It's just crazy.
Right. Yeah. So whether or not he's a puppet president and the deep state is taking over and they're running him, or whether or not he got a death threat on his family and
Maybe.
he's in the mountain there, in the underground mountain that they all talk about where all the computer stuff is, who the hell knows? But what I could tell you right now is, again, until everybody comes together and stands as one and says, we're not going to take this crap anymore and we need to figure out what's going on. We need to get the bad guys out. We want the names on the Epstein files. We want our country to be changed. We need our veterans to have someplace safe to live, our elderly people, our children. That's what he needs to work on. We need to get these terrorists out of our country. We need to get China out of our country.
Yeah.
The property that they own, it's like insane. How does that even happen? Okay, Biden did it. Well, then fix it.
Yeah.
You got 3 years, okay? You got 3 years. Focus on us.
You're not the only one that's done.
You go fight Iran. You go form an army and fight Iran. You go to Israel and fight Hamas. We are American people. It's not our problem. And you're not going to convince us otherwise. We're done. Israel has been convincing us that their issues and their enemies in the Middle East are ours since the 80s. And all it's done is cost us trillions of dollars and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of American lives. We are done. The deception is over. The game is over. And you're not going to insult us because we're done playing. You're not going to insult us because we're done with Israel's wars and done with you controlling the right-wing geopolitical discourse. We're done.
So you're not the only one feeling. I mean, it is a serious subject, but it's almost ironic how little attention that it's the important people, I guess is the right way to put it. It's ironic how little attention the important people are coming out and talking about it. You just mentioned the files. I don't hear anything about the files. And one of the things that upset me was Trump said, I think it's time to move away from something like that. It's time to move on away from, my gosh. I can't, no. And
hey, and he and Musk were running their mouths about that during the campaign, about the Epstein people needed to be taken out and Clinton needed to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you heard that too, right? Or was that an alternate universe?
What has happened? What could have possibly happened? And you brought up a good point, which I really didn't consider. They may have threatened his family. He's got a big family.
17,000 references, over 17,000 between Epstein and the French Rothschilds, who also tried to ship a nuclear device, or who wants to ship a nuclear device to Ukraine to be used against Russia. Are you kidding me? And so we're dealing with the Rothschilds, and they built the house of Israel. They built the house of Iran. That's the current rulers. And so this picture is much bigger. These people finance a lot of different things. And keep in mind, we still haven't addressed the China situation, which had more influence in stealing the 2020 election than everybody else put together. And we have our own dirty CIA.
If I remember correctly, Italy was involved in that as well. It was Italy, Venezuela, China, and somebody else.
Serbia, Germany, England.
Supposedly our allies.
Cuba.
Our pals. Yeah.
Well,
Europe's not really happy with us right now because they see Trump. They don't like Trump because what they see is him breaking apart the European countries. And I can tell you that from, just basically having conversation with my family over there, is they're not happy with him at all. Not to interrupt you, Peter, I'm sorry, but they feel that Trump is power hungry and that he's sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong and that he's breaking apart the European structure and that they need to come together and solidify and develop their armed forces. Not to say that they're not thankful for the United States for backing them in wartime situations when they needed the backing. They're thankful to him for that, but they're not happy with what he's doing now. And they're certainly not happy with what happened in Greenland because according to people that I've spoken to that are in the know, that are over in Europe, the paper was on the table and Greenland was ready to give him anything he wanted.
Wow.
But they just didn't want to sell the country and he wouldn't do it.
Wow.
Because he wanted that. Now, I understand us having to have control because there's a very strategic military base there in which we do need to have control and we do need to ensure that China nor Russia gets that. Because if either one of those did, we'd be in big trouble. So I absolutely agree with that part of it. But as far as the buying the country and all this other stuff, not so much. And the Europeans hate him for that. They hate him for the last couple of months, what he's done especially. Because they don't see him as their ally rather anymore. They really don't. So, he's creating a lot of problems. And as I said, if you're going to go in and fix it right. You know what I mean? Don't do it half-assed. Get all the bad guys out and then help them to develop, a government that will help them structurally to flourish and be safe and thrive. To me, this whole thing with taking out Maduro was kind of like a pat on the back move for him, for everybody to think that he done something heroic. But people don't do their research. They don't understand that the bad guys are still in power, and now it can get worse for them.
Yep. All right, I need to take a quick break. It's only going to be about 3 or 4 minutes. I got to refill the coffee cup, and I got to stand up for a few minutes. My bottom's hurting. So. Here we go. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Don't go away. This will be a shorty.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show. We'll be right back.
Take the red pill. Take the blue pill. Take the red pill.
I just can't help myself. I keep falling deeper and deeper. Every day. It's harder. I just can't stop thinking. I keep on falling. I keep on falling. In love with you. Sometimes I love you. Sometimes you make me feel blue. Sometimes I feel good. At times I feel used. The way you love me makes me so confused. I keep on falling in and out of love with you. I never loved someone the way Celebrity. We're falling in love right here on Celebrity Records. The Celebrity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
We're back. Hope you didn't go too far, because we have more interesting and thought-provoking information for you coming up on the Red Pill Reality Show.
All right, we are back. Thank you for hanging out with us. I greatly appreciate it. I know there's other things a lot of you could be doing on a Saturday night, and I'm ever so grateful for all of you. So let me bring him back on. I think we left off with Maggie. We'll start with Maggie, and then we'll go to Peter. Go ahead, Mag.
Thank you. So what I was saying before the break, though, is how pathetic is it that Europe has arrested more people in connection to the Epstein files than we have?
Yeah.
And here's where I stand. Riscalla, my family is a very loyal family, right? I was raised right from wrong. If you make a mistake, you admit it. But I was raised that a person is only as good as their word. And if you make a promise and you say something and you promise people something and you don't do it, you lose all credibility. And when you do it repeatedly, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you've lost trust. And there's that old adage, it takes a lifetime to earn, but a second to lose. And that's where I live. That's how I live my life, right? That's how I gauge people. And my biggest problem in life is that I've trusted many people out of the kindness of my heart. And I haven't gone with my intuitive guidance because I'm like, oh, they're a good person. They're a good person. And every time I do that, it turns around and bites me in the butt. And so what I've learned as I've gotten older is sit back and watch people's actions. Their actions will always speak louder than their words. And if they show you with their actions that they're not going to be authentic and legitimate people, then they're not somebody that you want to be associated with. And so how do we take that and project that onto the leader of our country? And how do we look at that from a whole as a perspective? And, it's a bitter pill to swallow because so many people wanted him to be the savior. And he absolutely did save us from innumerable horrible things that would have happened should Hillary have gotten in office. I'll say it again. However, I was shown to watch him later. And when you look at where this is going, his successor, if J.D. Vance is in there, and I got a feeling, and I may have spoken about this on your show before, maybe not, that I've got an inkling that Erica Kirk is somewhere going to be in there in the mix, whether it be as a vice presidential candidate, but she's got a lot of pull too. And if you look into her roots, she's as crooked as the day is long. Her mom has millions of dollars in defense contracting. There's a video that surfaced that I played on my show over 2 months ago, I think it was now, about how Erica Kirk did a training video for the government when she was talking about the grids going down and things like that her mom was financing those projects for at the time.
Yep.
And all of the things with Charlie Kirk. Look, they booked
and
the football stadium 6 months before he died. They booked the football stadium 6 months before he died that his funeral was at. People just really need to wake up. Okay.
Don't forget the orphanage that
and the orphanage, yeah, all of that, So when we look at this from a perspective of how would I gauge this if this guy was my friend versus the leader of my country, pretty scary, So whether or not he is a puppet, it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? If he's gone rogue, if they threaten his life, if it's an actor, the person that's presenting themselves as our American leader right now is not doing right by us. And unless everybody stands together, unless we stand together and get rid of the evil. Look, I just watched a video today. It was, I'm a big fan of, not Joe Rogan. I don't like him. The other one, Sean. Sean Ryan. I've liked him from the beginning. I think that he's one of the better ones out there. Not to say he's flawless, but he had a guy on his show that was a Democrat that said that we've upped the percentage of people that feel that the Epstein people will be prosecuted from 6% to 13%. So 13% of the people think that's what he said. That's what he said. He says, "Oh, it's going up," and he laughed. But where are our convictions on this? Where are the people?
There's not even investigations, Maggie. We don't even have anybody being investigated.
There isn't. And see, now he can just pass that off to Vance. And if you look at Vance's history, I encourage each and every listener out there, please look into Vance's history with Palantir and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel funded him, and people have said that somebody came to Trump and tapped him and said, if you don't pick Vance as your running mate, we're going to kill you. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I don't trust Vance anymore.
Well, Trump says that he found out about Vance through his son, if I remember correctly. His son, that's what he says. Anyway, so.
Okay, well, that might be what, maybe.
But I will tell you, the first time I saw J.D. Vance, my spirit said, no, this is not a good guy.
Well, look into his ties with Peter Thiel. In fact, Peter Thiel, who's like a horrible person, you could put him right up there with Soros, no kidding, and Gates, and all of them. He's just as bad, if not worse. I think he's worse. His son is a minister. So what does that tell you? We're in the age of false prophets and people lying. Yeah, wow. Yeah, his son's a preacher or a minister. In fact, I believe he ministered something for, there was another guy that was in politics. He ministered their, what do you call it? Ministered their wedding. I can do it. Marry people. He married somebody, and, but yeah. So that means nothing to me. A person's spirit and their word is what matters to me, right? And I'm not seeing them come through. And like I said, puppet or not, whoever it is, people got to wake up. And if they don't wake up, then we're lost. And that's the hope that I pray for each and every day, is that people get discernment in their hearts, that they come to the Lord, fully come to the Lord, not just say, oh, I went to Bible study. Yeah, show me something. Your character is going to speak to me louder and your actions are going to speak to me louder than anything that you could stand up on a lectern and talk about. Anybody could say whatever they want. Back it up. Put these people in jail. Save our children. Feed our hungry. Get these creeps out of here that don't belong here, right? So
Amen.
There you go.
So for some, you were saying to one of the things you had mentioned was to look at their actions. Their actions speak louder than their words. This guy here, this is a short video. This guy pretty much says how I feel right now.
Watching people who know nothing of the horror that comes with this kind of violence. People who could not even imagine what it feels like in the pit of your stomach when you hear that one of your friends has been killed. Or watching one of your best friends be ripped apart by high explosive. Watching people who have no idea what any of this looks like or feels like celebrate this disgusts me. And then watching them turn around and tell us that these sacrifices are just what happens. We just need to be prepared for more casualties, because that's what happens. It's not what fucking happens to them. Right. It's what happens to us. Yeah.
That's more and more people are fed up with this. They don't want to see this happen. Maggie, I agree with what you're saying until the people get their act together. But the odds of that happening, this is where the big issue is. The odds of that happening are very low. And there's so many things that are working to keep it that way. There are numerous things and some of it is even subconscious. We're listening to the radio or something, and there's stuff going across the radio that is causing you to think subconsciously, divisively.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the phones right now, Riscalla. That's why I tell everybody, don't sleep next to your phone. Keep it in across the room. Shut off your 5G and your computers whenever you can, because the technology is absolutely there in place to be able to affect your mindset, your moods, your dreams, all of that. And I know that that sounds crazy, but it's a fact. Look at what they've done. Look at what you were just speaking of earlier, the attack that we made on Venezuela, when the people were reporting that they were bleeding out of their ears when they were attacked. So the technology is there. It's in place. They're not going to outwardly admit it to you. And furthermore, they're going to make it seem like it's this wonderful tool to use against the enemy. But what happens when the people become the enemy? Right?
Yeah, you beat me to it.
So,
I was going to say,
yeah.
who is the enemy?
Yeah.
Who do they? Whoever they declare as the enemy is the enemy.
And he's got Trump's got a person. It was a woman, and I actually found it laughable that she was the head of his spiritual proportion of his campaign cabinet. I looked into her history. She was like, oh my gosh, seriously, they picked her? She's a fraud. Like, she's a fraud, like Jimmy Swaggart fraud, you know? But a lot of people claim that they pray. It's how you live your life, you know? Do you really live like what you say, or do you walk the walk, or do you just talk the talk? And I think that's a lot of the problem that we have in our country today is we either have the phonies or we have the people that are influenced, you know, whether it be, again, a full-blown possession or an oppression, and they're not aware of that because they've had trauma in their life. That, you know, evil spirits come in through the orifices of the body: eyes, ears, nose, your sexual organs, your mouth. But they also can come in through trauma as well as substance abuse. And a lot of people are afflicted, and they really don't understand that they're afflicted. Whoever would have thought that trauma could bring demons in, but it can. And it has. That's one of the ways that the bad guys get in, is through trauma. So think of the amount of people in this country that are broken. Think about the amount of people that are afflicted with what we call now, because it's a blanket terminology, PTSD, right? You know, think about how broken we are as individuals in our spirits, and then as a nation collectively as a whole. And then we have the apathetic portion and the people that are just blatantly out there. Well, I'm glad that person died. They deserve to die. You know, so we really have the perfect storm here, and it truly is going to take a miracle, I think, at this point. We just need to stand together in prayer and do the best that we can to support each other and come together as a nation. And until and unless that happens, we're in trouble.
I think if people understood the power when they get together, especially if they pray. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you believe in the God that we believe in, or if you call it the universe. Energy is energy.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing, you know, to me, I can't say that they're wrong, because that's not my place. I could tell you what I think, right? I could tell you what I believe. But as long as they're promoting peace and goodness and kindness, and they're helping their fellow man, that's a whole lot better than them commenting on social media that I'm glad that person's dead, they deserve to die.
Yeah.
You know, i.e. Charlie Kirk. There's a perfect example.
That was horrible. Horrible.
I still don't think he's dead. I think they saved him.
Shame, there was a time in this country when shame really meant something. There's no shame anymore.
No.
That's part of the problem. These
We're
people
living in the end times, you know.
People were literally laughing.
Laughing and drinking and marrying and carrying it on, right? So here we are. It's in the prophecies, right? So.
Wow.
You know,
prophecies. That sounds like Peter.
Yes, that's Peter's turn. Sorry, Pete.
Yeah, and I was just heading to look something up here. It just keeps on bopping out of my mind, but I'll find it here as we're going. Yeah, broad and spacious is the road to destruction. Narrow and cramped is the path to everlasting life. Everlasting life, what does that mean? That means your DNA has been repaired, and we don't have the telomeres on there anymore. And we'll grow younger as time goes on, as long as we make it through the final battle here. You know, we talk about this from a lot of different ways, but we're in this period of total deception, and there will be a way made out. But you know, Maggie, you brought up one of the more popular podcasters. These guys have millions of followers. Broad and spacious is their road, and very little accurate knowledge. Here, Trim Radio, you probably have some of the most accurate knowledge available, and it's a cramped little station that I would love to see become much, much bigger.
You've seen the post where it shows a bunch of people lining up that says something like what you want to hear, and then there's another one. There's another line with just a few people in it, and it says the something truth, the something truth. I can't remember what the exact word was, but that's what you're describing.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to give people a true hope for, and that is in Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. And it said, and this is after they picked 144,000 followers of Christ. They become part of Christ's spiritual kingdom. And it's interesting. It's out of the 12 tribes of Judah. I mean, out of the 12 tribes of Israel. And some people take this literal, that we don't have enough time to cover the accuracy of their thought, but it's not accurate. And I can prove that biblically through biblical history. But the people that would find the truth and that would survive what is coming is talked about here. And I'm actually reading this from Tinsdale's The Book. It says, after these I saw a vast crowd, too great to count, from all the nations and provinces and languages, standing in front of the throne before the Lamb, clothed in white, with palm branches in their hands. And they were shouting with a mighty voice, salvation comes from our God upon the throne and from the Lamb. I saw a vast crowd, too great to count, from all the nations and provinces and languages. Not just from the United States of America, not just from Russia or China or any of the countries in South America or in Africa or the Middle East, the Far East, Indonesia, not just from predominantly Christian countries, but from all the nations. A great crowd, too many to number. So a lot of people are going to eventually come to accurate knowledge. There's going to be a lot more that succumb and will not get past this whole situation for a lot of different reasons, some of which Maggie brought out. You've got a lot of oppression. You don't think you've got demon-possessed people? How about the people that worship gods and they don't think that they have no knowledge that they're worshiping the gods Baal, Ashtoreth, and Molech, gods that have been worshipped since ancient Babylon?
What about the people eating the kids?
Well,
Baal, Ashtoreth, and Molech. There you go.
Yeah.
They're
not human. They can't be human.
If
Go
I
ahead,
could just interject for a moment.
Yeah.
Here's how I look at it. I was praying on this the other day. I don't bring out, and I'm on hiatus right now until things get straightened out with my stuff I have going on. But I was in prayer, and I don't advertise a lot of the stuff on my show of what happened to these poor children, because I was shown in vision what happened to them in regards to Clinton. I cannot, and I will not put that on my show, because there could be children listening, for lots of reasons, but basically just to quench the human spirit. You can go in and look at these files, and you can look at it, and you can review them on your own. But I encourage everybody who does that, if you choose to please pray before and after.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I pray that people don't use this as a ratings ploy, that they put all this gross stuff out there to get hits, because let's face it, human nature is curiosity, and this is the kind of stuff that sells nowadays, and that sickens me. But I'm going to ask you just one question, and I'm going to leave it at that. What do you think is going to happen to those of us that don't speak out and don't have righteous anger toward these children that are being abused and eaten and killed and all of these terrible things? What do you think Jesus is going to say to us and God when it's our turn if we don't do anything about this? What do you think? We're going to be judged for these sins. I'm telling you, because we have free will. God gave everybody free will. And if we don't take a stand against this and make these people be brought to justice, that shame and those sins are going to fall on us, because he gave us the free will. We didn't defend his children. We didn't defend his children.
If you remain quiet and silent, it is a form of acceptance and allowing this to continue.
And that's what the bad guys do. That's their ritual spell work, and that's how they get you to agree. If you don't do anything, that is the same as alignment in a soul contract.
Wow.
That is the same as alignment.
What we should have, and it's actually permissible. You can get angry, but don't sin. It's called righteous indignation.
No, that's what I just was talking about.
When somebody plots against you, you have righteous indignation, and you have the spiritual ability to gain justice. That's another show. That's reaching out to into the cosmos to see justice done in the future. I've seen that happen. I've actually done it. Commanded it be done because of people who had plotted against me. And yet I wait for the ultimate justice to come for those who plotted against me the most. And they are at the highest levels controlling this planet. And so we need to have righteous indignation as a population. And that will raise our spiritual awareness for the corruption that's taking place on this planet. But we have to reach that level. And in order to reach that level, we have to have our own lives under control. We have to have that spiritual connection with our Creator. How would you know you have righteous indignation?
If we rise to that level, Peter, I would imagine in my mind that these sickos, these psychopaths, these parasites, trying to use descriptive words that are not vulgar, would not have an opportunity to even live among us because go ahead.
I was going to say you're 100% correct, and that's what the Battle of Armageddon is all about. It's to literally remove from the planet those who have aligned themselves with the satanic agenda and have not embraced the kingdom of God. And it's a political thing. It's not a religious thing. It's a political thing on a cosmic level. It's a kingdom. It's a spiritual connection with our Creator. And I Maggie, I don't know if you want to promote what you've been doing and what you've been working on or not. But Maggie's got so much insight in dealing with how to deal with traumatic events and how to create a path for your future. She's done this with lots of people. She helped me get over one of the most tragic things of my life. No, the most tragic thing of my life, the loss of a child. And it was nip and tuck there for a while, but I didn't have any answers for what had happened. and I tried not to deal with it by ignoring, accepting it, and doing my best to move on. But I couldn't accomplish that. But anyway, Maggie.
Hi, Jax.
Yeah. That's it. There's the puppy. Yep. Who's no longer a puppy. But anyway, I would like you to finish up and talk about what you're working on. And with that, I'm going to say love and blessings to all. Tune into Thursday night's show because we'll get into this deeper. And Riscalla, if you would join me on Thursday night, that'd be great. 9:00 Eastern time. And we can unravel a lot more of this in order to get a better comprehension on the players that are involved, and then how we can deal with those players, along with having righteous indignation for what they've done and what they're doing. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to say love and blessings to all. I hope everybody joins us on Thursday. I mean, remember to hit the like button and share this channel with all of your friends. Good night, folks.
Good night, Peter.
Maggie?
So, Mr. Riscalla, did you have anything else that you wanted to get out there? It's your show, and I didn't want to monopolize the last few minutes. If you have anything else you want to talk about.
I have no issues with sharing with you, my dear. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Basically, I can't really do anything with it right now because I'm kind of on hold. There are circumstances outside of my control, and so I can't really promote what I want to promote because I don't have the tools to do that yet. But when the time becomes available, if that time comes to be here in the next few months, and if not, I'll have to take it in a different direction. I've written a book, and this book is for these times that we're in right now. And basically, it's a way for people to come together, especially those that want to form like the communities, the survival communities, and the communities of like-minded people that are of like mindset, and they want to live organically, cleanly, whatever. Because of the times ahead in which we're going to be faced, we know that Christians are going to be persecuted. That's spoken of in the Bible. Yep. But what this book does, the premise behind it, is it's a series of techniques and training that are both ancient and also what I would call prayer-based, but not prayer-based in nature. In other words, I made this book available for everybody. So I don't speak about God and Jesus in the book because I want it to be a tool that everybody can utilize and feel comfortable doing so. And essentially, what it is it trains you to become closer with the community that you formed. And it gives you different exercises that you could use to become a cohesive group. In other words, one mind. And this is done through our natural abilities through Father. Some people might refer to them as psychic gifts, but I like to refer to them as spiritual gifts, even though I use the word psychic, in conversation. So basically what it does is it trains you to be able to act cohesively as a group in order to be effective in battle without killing people. In other words, defending yourselves, your children's, and your families, but also to be able to survive if you find yourself in a situation to where, just like we were talking about before, you find yourself coming under attack and you need to protect yourself. And so it's a very comprehensive manual. It essentially is, it's called the Guardian Codex, Manual of the Heart Warrior. And what it is it's an all-inclusive. It tells you how to heal without medicine. It tells you how to work energetically and with your mind to be able to function a whole unit or a group of people as one. But it's also something that military groups could use. It's also something that women can use for self-defense. It's something that the communities that are geared towards survival homesteading can use. It's especially in the times that we live in now with the violence that's prevalent on the planet, just simply for your family that's traveling. If you practice this cohesively as a unit, as a family unit, it will help you and your family to be able to work more cohabitively and effectively to be able to keep yourself and your family safe. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. And that's not the flowery version. I could have read you the back of the book if I'd have known Pete was gonna have me talk about it. But that's it. And so that's where my focus has been for the last couple of months, and it's something that I was shown in vision and prayer that this needs to be put out and how to do it. So
Is it available now?
it is not, because it's not in print yet. Oops.
The barks are barking.
So yeah, but in order for me to be able to promote it and do interviews, I need some things to come together, and I don't have the tools that I need to be able to schedule some interviews. But I actually had you on my docket to see if you and I could get together and do a show on it when the time is right. And I did have a couple interviews scheduled, but I had to put them off because I didn't have, unfortunately, the tools that I needed.
Yeah, you let me know.
To present it. So, but that's what it's about. Yeah, we could go into it more detail off the air if you want at some point. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be. I was showing this in prayer. You need to do this, and you need to do it now. People need this, and it's going to help them. So we'll see. Okay. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Maggie. God bless you. We're a little over time, but that's not a big deal. And yes, we'll get together and let me see what maybe between the two of us we can get you to what you need and hopefully get it out in people's hands. I mean, that's what it's all about, helping each other.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we are out of time, over time, and I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with me. I really do. God willing, and the creek don't rise, as my friend used to say. I'll be back next week, and we'll do it all over again. In the meantime, God bless. And talk to you soon.